What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Cameraman Show. My name's Kartik.
I'm Manav.
And in this podcast, we talk about all things weddings, cameras, and business. Don't say it's an interesting podcast episode. We always say that. I know you're going to say it.
No. I was just going to say that I have a story to tell you this time.
Please.
Right? Normally you have stories to tell me, but this time I got a story
This
to tell you.
is a recent story?
Kind of not so recent, but it's not like 5 years old as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Within the year, I would say.
Oh, fantastic. Let's go. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So, mother of a bride.
I know. I just know this one's going to be juicy.
All right. Mother of a bride goes to me, can you video shop something out of a frame?
Jesus. Please help me.
Video shop. Like, I've heard of Photoshop before. Have you ever heard of video shop?
Is this like green screening?
I don't know what I legit don't know what she means. But she basically, so what happened was, this is a wedding I was shooting, Hindu wedding, outdoor wedding, beautiful. There was an uncle there. And you know how there's always like a annoying uncle at every wedding, right? Yeah. So apparently this uncle that was at the wedding, he was literally coming in the middle of every frame. Like, he's trying to be the center of attention. He was trying to he was trying to drag bride and groom together all the time, take a photo with me, blah, 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 right? That kind of vibe. And the mum was getting like really triggered at this, right?
I mean, who wouldn't be triggered at this?
Yeah. And so the bride's mum got so triggered that she goes to me, can you video shop him out of all the frames of the video? Like, where they were like doing the family photos and all that stuff.
What does that actually mean? Like if you pan the video to him, there's going to be like a whole, an empty space in the video.
I don't know what she means. Like, I think
video shop.
Yeah, I think she's heard like how you can Photoshop things out. So she thinks video shop is a thing too.
Same.
Yeah,
same.
Yeah.
Oh.
She doesn't get the difference between moving frames and a still frame.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Anything's possible.
You couldn't do it?
No.
You're shit.
Yeah, no. I'm shit. She can do it, I bet.
She must do it on Canva. It's probably a Canva. Shout out to Canva. Please sponsor us. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so what do you say?
What do you say in that regard? I was like,
okay. Nobody's. I video shop out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a pretty random request.
Yeah.
Which segues into what we're going to talk about today. For those of you who understand photography, you also recognize, and also understand videography, you also recognize that that is just one part of the process. The second part is the editing process. And in that, I think over the last 20 years collectively between us, we've probably had some very interesting requests, some interesting misconceptions about what editing is. From both a photo perspective and from both a video perspective. And in this episode, Manav and I are going to break down some of those myths, some of the things to look out for if you're a potential client getting married, about what editing actually means. And we're just going to debunk a whole bunch of things that we get from a request perspective when it comes to photo and video. And both have to be treated a bit separately because obviously, video shop and Photoshop, they're two very different things.
I mean, I already talked about that in the last, I think one of the last podcasts about the girl who wanted me to do 30 changes in 30-second teaser or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot to elaborate.
This episode's going to be specifically dedicated to just editing. And I think there's a lot to be said. There is so much around the editing concept of photography and videography that, clients don't realize, and photographers who are passionate about this have a lot to say. And so I think we've collated some notes that we're going to share with you guys.
So first of all, before we even start this, I want to ask you, according to you, what is editing as a wedding photographer?
That's a very deep question. Like, what is life? Very, very deep. Yeah. No, look, okay, what is
I don't
editing?
think it's that deep, to be honest.
Look, I mean, how long is a piece of string? How long?
Sure. I mean,
all right. So
that makes no sense. But sure.
All right. What is editing? In my definition, in my not so professional opinion, editing is basically what it means to me is the ability to enhance an image, but I just want to make clear that it's not the ability to manipulate an image,
which is what a lot of people it is.
Yeah,
like a lot of people think it is about manipulating.
Mind you,
you
can. But as a wedding photographer, I think we need to start drawing a line of what things we edit and what things we don't edit.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of people who think that we are God.
Touch my feet.
I am AI. We discussed this.
We discussed this.
We discussed this.
You're AI.
I am AI.
Everyone, next time you see him at a wedding, just touch his feet because he's AI.
JAI.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that editing to you is just like what, like applying a preset, adjusting contrast, adjusting those kind of things, right? Not literally like removing people out of photos.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can. I'm not saying that you can't. You absolutely
But as
can.
a wedding photographer.
But as a wedding photographer, I think we need to understand that there are times to do the heavy Photoshop things and there are times to not do the heavy Photoshop things.
Okay, now I'm a client and I ask you, why are you not doing heavy Photoshop for every photo that you taken at my wedding? Why are you not removing stuff? That's what we paid you to do. Well,
then you, my friend, are very heavily misguided. And I fucked up if I ended up signing you as a client.
But why would you not do that? So number one, that straight off the bat, it just takes so much time to edit, right?
We don't do that shit.
Yeah. Like imagine trying to remove you know how you just talked about the video shop or whatever. Even if you had to Photoshop someone out of a photo for like 1,000 photos, like this ain't like you're gonna be sitting there for like days straight trying to edit like one wedding, right? Yeah.
The story that comes to mind about my first challenge with editing was when I had a prospective client. So not even a client that I even signed on. And this was a prospective client who sent me an inquiry and they're like, oh, let's do a chat over the phone, just a consult call. So I'm like, awesome, that's fine. And then she calls me and she goes, we had a nice half an hour chat. And what was interesting was she then said, I need to talk to you about editing. And I've never had a client specifically go to me, hey, can I talk to you just about editing? It's always about my service and the deliverables, but this is a particular conversation about editing. And I'm like, how can I help? And she said, so I want to understand, how do you take photos around like angles and like particularly enhancing or like dehancing, is that even a word? Or like minimizing, say, like my double chin. And I said, okay, well, I don't enhance or dehance. I just take the photo. There are ways to obviously take a portrait in order to accentuate a certain curves or to help not hide things, but if people are conscious about certain things, or maybe people have side preferences, then I can understand that.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
That happens all the time. Side preferences happen all the time.
That's usually the first thing I ask when I rock up to a
it's like, hey,
do
what's
you
your
have any side preference?
Yeah, because it's going to really help in the future. But I said, look, once the photo's done and I've taken the portrait, and I've taken the photo, whatever it is, I can't really do too much about anything else after that. The photo's done. And then, I tried to stay clear of the whole, I can edit this, I can edit. I didn't want to do that because this is about educating clients in a very honorable and very honest way as well. I told this person, I'm like, look, I don't manipulate anything in terms of changing, faces, structures of your body or anything like that. I just edit things. So I enhance things, which means I adjust exposure if it's underexposed. I adjust contrast if, some of the images are too dark. You work around those areas of an image, not, hey, I can Photoshop out your chin. I can't do that. And this client specifically wanted me to Photoshop, her body parts to make it look like, she was a bit conscious about it, which I can respect. I have insecurities as well, and it's very normal. But this is a part where I'm like, hey, I just want to let you know I don't do that. And it's very important for me to explain this story, because if this client's not aware and they sign me and I overpromise and underdeliver, I'm going to be the one at fault. I'm going to be the one at fault. And so this client never signed with me, which is great, because I didn't want this person to come on thinking that I can do the world here and, change certain things, because that's not me. And I wouldn't do that. And for any photographers who do those things, I mean, that's up to you. I can't say that's right or wrong, but
I think generally in the early stages of your business, you would probably do a lot more and go out of your way and do these kind of things. But once you kind of realize, hey, you're shooting weddings, you shoot every weekend or whatever, you don't have time to sit there and edit 1,000 photos or whatever and take people out of them. It's just not
what
feasible.
I want to ask you is, because we know how to Photoshop, right? We know how to remove things, right? And we know how to add things. We know how to do a lot of things. It's great. What do you think is appropriate in terms of what you can say? These are the things I would actually Photoshop. And these are the things I could actually adjust and move. What do you think is appropriate in your mind?
I think when So I normally like offer a canvas as part of my packages, right? And if someone wants to like get a photo printer, like that photo that's going to be printed on the canvas is normally going to be the one that's going to be like in front of the reception or whatever, right? If there is something in there that needs to be photoshopped out, whatever, I'm okay with doing that because that's like a print, like that's not like a digital image, right?
Yeah,
That's
okay.
a print.
Like what examples of those things could you reckon?
Like for example, a tissue dropped on the floor, right? Maybe like I mean, with AI, which we want to talk about a little bit later on, is that you can even like adjust pleats and stuff like that as well. Like potentially, like I have had one where there's like a random photo at the bottom on the frame, and they're like, can you remove that? Like stuff like that, right?
Like that,
yeah. In the background of photos, I've had like ropes and stuff. You know, you used to shoot at Sydney Uni sometimes. They got like ropes. They rope the grass or whatever. So I removed that, like stuff like that, just to make the photo look a bit better. But I would not like Photoshop people out or something.
Yeah.
Like
do you ever have a bride who goes to you, hey, like, just this is a close-up shot and I love this photo. I've just got one pimple here that I just broke out on the day and we really love this photo. Would you feel okay with removing that one blemish?
I feel like it's fine, right? Like blemish, like a small one like that. But I mean, not in like fucking 500 photos. But like if it's like a one photo that you want to put up or like even like, 5 photos you want to put up and like a print that you want to do, that's fine. I don't mind.
I remember when I do, let's say, like, detailed macro shots and usually it's to do with like glam or beauty shots, especially like you're getting a photo for like hair and makeup and like the bride's closing her eyes, you just want to get the detail of her eyelashes. I've had some brides go, oh hey Kartik, like I've broken out on just a day before my wedding, stress or whatever it is, that pimple that you see isn't permanent, like it's not a real thing. Do you think you can Photoshop that out? They use Photoshop a lot in the context of, because that's what they know. They don't say, can you Lightroom that out? Can you Photoshop that out? Now, I have a choice to make because my rule of thumb here is going, if it's a temporary thing and I know I'm just doing this for one photo, not thousands of photos, I wouldn't mind. Because that's not who you are. Like that pimple is not on you permanently. The difference is if it's a mole or a beauty mark or a beauty spot. Like I wouldn't touch that because that's part of your identity.
That's who you are.
And I don't think it's ethical. I mean, we can go down that conversation line. I don't think it's ethical to go, I'm going to take out that beauty spot.
Especially for weddings anyway. I get it if you're doing more like fashion photography and that kind of stuff where you like heavy skin retouching is required. But for weddings, I think you want to keep it more like how things are just on the day. You want to enhance it a little bit, obviously, to make the photos look nice. Enhance.
I like that word, enhance. But I think there has to be a very clear differentiation of things that you just cannot cross that barrier of, right? I know that within, you mentioned high-end retouching, especially within the editorial high-end fashion commercial level of photography where you see models on billboard ads, I can promise you 100% of the time, most likely their faces are restructured.
Yeah, and it makes sense because you're selling something.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? But this comes down to like a business trying to make sales, right?
Correct.
And they're like, we want our business image to be a certain way. And this is a commercial thing, right? As where wedding photos are like your personal photos. Like it's mostly for you and your family. You're not really like printing them on billboards and stuff. And even if you are, like, why would you want to show yourself as someone that you're not?
I get that. But I think this is where sometimes clients look at that area of photography and go, oh, that's also this area of photography. And that's very different. Because
I don't know who would print a wedding on a billboard, by the way. I don't know. Makes no sense.
Maybe not that. But like, but maybe a bride going, oh, I know high-end commercial photographers would do some level of, symmetry adjustment and like blemish removal and all of that. And they're thinking that that's a transferable skill to wedding photography. But can I just say, for those of you who don't really know, high-end fashion photographers who do like high-end retouching, I can honestly tell you right now, spend upwards of like 4 to 5 hours on one photo. That is very different to doing an entire catalog for a wedding like album because we don't spend 4 to 5 hours on one photo. We genuinely don't.
Okay.
I spend about 10 seconds on one photo.
I got a question for you. What if a bride now goes that my wedding's getting featured in Vogue, right? And now it's in a magazine. And she comes back to you and she says, can you retouch my photos to make me look in a certain way? Because now this is going to be part of a magazine.
See, this is interesting.
What would you do then?
Okay, if it's for one article submission, like if it's just for one image.
But it's not going to be one image. Like article submissions are usually like multiple images. I'd say like could even be up to like 15, 20 photos from a wedding.
Well, I would have to argue that, am I going to like do heavy manipulation and what we talked about before, like am I adjusting someone's face physically, what's that word, distorting it, am I like
Surely you wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would literally just go, I'm going
Once
to make
again,
sure
yeah.
that the image is in line with my brand,
Yeah.
that it has the look and feel of what my photos are. It looks nice. I'm going to make sure that it's cropped well and all of that stuff.
Any like random stuff in
Any
the
random
photos, you
things on the
remove that.
floor in the background, I might just
yeah.
get out. If it's distracting, which
Yeah.
you can argue that, oh, there's certain images that look distracting with certain things in the background,
Yeah.
those things I can touch.
Yeah.
But am I going to spend, 40 hours per image? Nah, bruh.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that shit.
Yeah, fair.
Question. How do you deal with a client who says to you, can you make me look skinnier?
Listen, bro. Listen. All right, listen.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Do I look like a trainer?
Yes.
Am I a fitness trainer?
I mean,
Tell me. Well, just because I'm wearing a tracksuit doesn't mean I'm a fitness trainer.
Nike, is that you?
But like, okay, look, I get it. Like, you want to look the best on your wedding day, and obviously we can have certain angles that we can use to make, people that are like plus size look a bit more flattering, right?
It's well said.
Right? It is.
That's well said.
But like, you have to understand that, like, bro, I get this all the time, especially from aunties at weddings.
Yeah, what do you say to
Right?
that?
Like, can you make me look
Can you
skinnier?
make me look skinnier?
Yeah.
I want to look like Deepika, no? Just make me look skinnier, yeah? Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I get that so much that like, I mean, I just like laugh it off. Like, ha ha ha, auntie. You know what? you know exactly what I'm about to say. You know what I say? Ha ha, auntie, you look fine.
Yeah, auntie, you look amazing the way you are. What are you talking about, man? Don't know why I'm speaking like this. But it's funny because after doing this I've done this for 8 years. I think you've been shooting for over 10.
Yeah.
I still, to this day, do not have a great response for when, and I get asked this literally almost every wedding.
Yeah.
Can you make me look skinnier? I still to this day do not have
Photographers out there, can you let us know what you say?
Yeah, what do you guys actually say? No, babe, you look as amazing as you are. Oh my God, stop it, Queen Slay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I want to know what photographers out there say to aunties that ask them, "Hey, can you make me look skinnier?" If you guys have any responses and you're seeing this video, comment below.
Comment, let us know. I try and go down the body positive like conversation. Like, no, what do you look beautiful, like, because
I mean, what else can you say though? Like,
I don't know.
There's nothing else you can say.
No,
Yeah.
like I don't know what to say to that. Like
anything else you say, you get cancelled.
I'll get cancelled. Yeah, if I comment on anything, cancelled. Cancelled.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get cancelled right now. I just think it's like whenever someone says that, I freeze up in the moment because there's so many things fundamentally wrong with that statement about, hey, can you make me look skinnier? Which is why I'm like, there needs to be a conversation about what we do as photographers first. Do I consider myself as God? No, but I can make someone look a particular way, and we can accentuate and we can try and flatter.
Like certain lighting
is a big
use,
thing.
certain angles you can use.
How you position someone, how you make them pose.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm massive on posing. I love posing. I think it's so much fun because you can really and you know what? For someone, and this is a bit of a vulnerable thing, for someone who's not the most confident person, right? I hate being in front of photos. I just hate it. But for someone who's not the most, I'm being serious. All right, like I'm being serious. Moving on. So for someone,
say that again. Say that again.
What do you mean? I'm not. I don't.
That expression on my face said it all.
I'm being serious. I'm not.
Oh, what a humble guy. Yeah, sure. And then post like videos of you button popping on my Instagram reels. Oh, I don't like being in front of cameras.
Look, it's just.
Anyways, I'll try to keep serious while you say that.
This is a very, very important topic here.
Go on.
It's just. I just lost my train of thought.
No, you said you don't. As a person who doesn't like being in front of cameras.
Yeah. But what was I trying to? Oh, like, okay, yeah. This is what I was trying to say. So, as someone who's not the most confident person being in front of a camera, one of the things I've recognized that helps myself to be a bit more relaxed is how people are posed. And so
what's wrong, bro?
You're just looking at it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I'm trying to see where this goes.
And sometimes I know that the way people pose subjects can make them feel confident and can make them look a little bit more flattering, quote unquote. And so it doesn't have to be a heavy end of going Photoshop and editing can take care of the rest. Because my objective as a photographer is to go, how do I minimize that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to spend more time editing. I don't want to spend more time manipulating. I don't want to do any of that shit. I just want to make the person and the subject feel the most confident and sexiest version of them possible.
Yeah. And like, what I try to do the most, especially on a wedding day, is like try to get your shot as close to like perfect in camera. The least amount of time I can waste editing is like the time saved doing something else.
Yes. If you're a photographer, ideally you should 99.9% of the time make the photo as perfect as can be in camera first. Editing doesn't make it the full thing. It's like, it's a part of it, right? Like the shot has to be a particular way first. And I think editing just accentuates and enhances a little bit, but it can't completely distort, manipulate, change anything.
I think as a photographer, you have to have a mindset that, like, you can't have a mindset that I'll handle it in post. Because I've done this when I was like starting out. Like I was thinking, I'll fix it up in post. No, you don't want to do that. You want to get things right on the wedding day.
Like that statement and expression from a lot of photographers is, I'll fix it up in post.
Yeah.
And I think it's an expression that started to build complacency. And we may get cancelled for this because post can fix a lot of things. But realistically, it should be, no. Let's not try and fix it up in post. Let's try and fix it up now.
Try to get as close to perfect as you can on the day. So,
but the editing part that I want to sort of dive into a little bit more of is when clients are researching their photography. I can't take you seriously right now. What the fuck? When clients... Nah, I'm out.
Go on.
When clients are researching... For those of you who are tuning into the podcast, Manav's cat... Okay. Manav's cat is just like rubbing against the mic. That sounds so weird. All right, that's fine. Just block my face. Put your ass in my face. This is great. Should I continue?
Continue.
So what I'm trying to understand is if you're a client...
Calm down. Sit here.
Sit. Good boy. All right. I'm just going to leave this in the podcast because for those of you who are listening to the podcast, Manav's cat just came and had main character moment and he's still going.
Still going.
That's okay. That's fine. You know what?
He's got to...
We'll just embrace it. We'll embrace it. What I'm trying to say is if you're a client and you're researching photographers, realistically what should happen is you need to understand what style of edit that photographer has versus what you actually want as a client. And what I mean by that is there are clients who have looks that they really like, and there are photographers who have looks that they really like. Both of those things should marry up with one another. And what I mean by that is do not hire a photographer who is a dark and moody portrait photographer who has these like really contrasty looks, who has those sort of underexposed sort of vibes. Don't hire that photographer. Don't book that photographer.
If you don't want that.
If you want a bright and airy feel to your photos, don't do that shit. You know what I mean? Like you're just asking for trouble because you're not understanding what is the level of edit that you're after versus what that photographer can do. And if a photographer gets that inquiry, then it's in their responsibility to go, hey, what are you after here? Because I have a particular look and field, but I think what you're after, I may not be able to deliver. Now, unless you can pivot your skill in certain areas where you go, okay, for maybe a reception where you know it's a bit more darker, right? Because it's inside or whatever, as opposed to the outdoor wedding day.
Yeah.
Maybe in that, okay, cool, I can meet you halfway. I can do those sort of dark and moody images. But I wouldn't promise, a particular style across everything, because that for me is shooting myself in the foot, especially when a client comes to me and says, hey, I want this style of edit, I want that style of edit.
It's weird though, like surely like you would think that clients would know what they want before they come to you. Like they've already seen your work online, right? So I find it a bit weird, and it's happened to me as well, where they'll see like the type of photos we put up on our social media, but then they'll be like, oh, can you take photos and edit them in a certain way? It's like, no, like that's not our style, right? And that's totally fine to be like be upfront about it rather than be like, yeah, I'll do it. And then because I guarantee you this is going to be one of those things that you're going to regret later on 100%. When it comes to like editing 100%. And stuff, right?
100%.
Like, yeah.
The biggest thing that I would sort of advise is if you're a client, and not a lot of clients do this, so I can encourage this. If you're a client and go, hey, like we just want full transparency. Ask for a full gallery from your wedding photographer.
Yeah, 100%.
It's very normal. It's very normal.
And you'll be surprised how many people don't.
Yeah, correct.
Because, okay, the photos that we put up on our Instagram or, website or whatever, usually are like the best
The
photos,
best of the best.
right?
Yeah, because you got to advertise your work.
Yeah.
Very normal.
Right? But a lot of couples will not look at a full gallery of a photographer. They'll book them in by looking at the stuff that you put up on Instagram or whatever, and then they'll come back and be like, "Oh, we're so disappointed because
you know what's so funny about that is they will assume, which is also very dangerous, but they will assume that a photo of a couple photo shoot where there's shallow depth of field to the blurry background, where you've got great lighting because it's golden hour, sunset, and all of that jazz, and you've got a beautiful composed image will look just as good as a group shot indoors at like a pre-wedding home event for like 5-6 people in a no. And the reason for that is because like the environment is so different. This is a group shot. It's not a composed image where you're like doing a specific artistic shot. You don't have much shallow depth because you're trying to get a lot of people in the frame. Your lighting's probably not as good because it's not outdoors during golden hour. And there's this big misconception that every single image will look beautiful. And you need to be a bit more aware about what the editing process actually involves because realistically, you could have a group shot that's also just as beautiful, but the context has to be applied here. That group shot's going to be indoors. It's just going to be several people, not 2 people or 1 person for a solo image. There's no golden hour lighting. So why would you assume that that image is going to look just as magnificent as a composed photo that you've probably seen on a photographer's website or their Instagram?
Yeah, going on from this point, I think also why you need to see a full gallery is, I think we've touched this before in like briefly in one of the podcasts, is like a lot of photographers don't use flash. Indoor photos, you're going to have to use flash, right? To get like nice photos and stuff like a reception or whatever. Like, bro, I've literally worked with some photographers. They'll just refuse to use flash, and you know why? It's because it's like too heavy. We want to go like a light setup or whatever,
it's
right?
not their look and feel.
It just comes down to like and it just comes across as a very like a complacent thing, like you're just being lazy or whatever it is, right? Now, if you, as you said, people are going to look at like outdoor photos that are sunset or whatever, and then they're going to be like the indoor photos are going to look the same. Obviously, they won't look the same, but if you know how to use flash properly, the indoor photos should still look good.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Which is why another reason to just check out a full gallery of a reception or a wedding because they'll tell you how the photographer's using flash inside.
Correct.
How the photo's looking indoors.
Yeah, correct. So I know that we've kind of dissected a lot about the photo side of editing, but I want to go into the video side of editing. And for those of you who don't know, Manav does video as well as photo. I strictly just do photos. But I feel like there's a bit to be said here about what the editing misconceptions are, the editing problems are, and the challenges that video editing actually entails. And I just want to know straight off the bat, like, is video editing harder or easier than photo editing?
I wouldn't say it's either or. It's just more time consuming.
Okay.
Like way more time consuming than photo editing.
Yeah, okay.
Like photo editing, like, you can apply a certain look or whatever to it. You can maybe take a couple of things out. Obviously, because it's like a still frame versus like moving images, like you can do way more.
Yeah, of course.
But in terms of video editing, you got to like take care of like what song to choose. You got to make certain cuts at a certain time. We'll also have to handle like speeches from like receptions. Like
so there's more moving components is what I'm hearing, like audio, video, lighting. But then you have to build.
Yeah, because you're building like a story. Like,
Correct.
A photo tells like a story in that moment in time, what's happened for that one frame. A video for like a wedding would be telling you a story what's happened throughout the whole day, if you think about it, right? Because you're putting like a video together. So I think one of the things that is challenging is like music aspect of, because I normally get clients to like send me music for their highlight videos. First of all, because it eliminates the re-editing process as much as possible. Because like imagine if I just use a song that I liked, right? And then the client comes back, hey, we don't really like this song. We want you to use a different song. Like, what a pain in the ass is to like remove a whole song out of a highlight video and reinsert it, because we literally cut to the music
so
when we're editing.
You sync to the music, right?
So like the cuts I'm making, every cut that I'm making is like based on the music that's going on in the background most of the time anyway, right? Yeah. So it's very difficult to remove a whole song out of a highlight video and just like reinsert like a new song in or whatever, which is why I think it's like I get the songs from couples in advance or whatever. But
Is the turnaround time? So for me, editing photos
longer.
Oh, it's longer.
Yeah,
Okay.
video, understandably, because videos, like at least in the packages that I do, it's like you're getting a full length video of your wedding as well as a highlight video, right? Full length will have like all your speeches, your dances, everything like in full. The only time I'm not like recording is when nothing's happening, like people eating or like, you know, shit like that.
Do you? Yeah. So we talk about photo misconceptions all the time. Like, hey, I reckon Photoshop my double chin, or help me look skinnier, or whatever it is. Do you get like a video misconception? Do you get people like sending you the world and going, make a production out of this, or like how does it? Do you often get that, or is it more of people know what they're sort of asking from you?
I've had brides send me videos of Bollywood actors and actresses getting married.
Okay.
Yeah. And their wedding, like for example, like, you know, in like Udaipur, in the biggest palace, like some Bollywood actress got married and looks so grand or whatever. And then they're just getting married in like a local venue, which like looks nothing like. Right? You just have a fit right there.
Sorry.
No, but legit, like I've had this a lot.
Yeah,
and
right.
like, what do you say to that? Like, I mean, like, thing is, in the email, I can't even be like, hey, look, like your expectations are like unrealistic, right? Like,
are you Bollywood superstar?
You literally
are you
sending,
Bollywood
but
superstar?
think about it, like these weddings, right? That they send, like, look how big the budgets are. First of all, you're a freaking Bollywood actor, right? Or like your budgets are
or
huge.
Western celebrity or Hollywood or
Or
whatever
Hollywood,
it is.
whoever,
Yeah,
right? Like your
matter.
budgets are huge, your locations are just epic. You spend like fucking $50,000 just on your dress or whatever, and then you send like a video like that as inspo to your videographer, and then be like, yeah, I want you to create something similar to this. It's like, no, you're literally getting married.
I think it's really interesting because I think the overarching theme here, and this isn't just related to this podcast, is self-awareness. A lot of the times whenever we have a challenge, I think it's due to a lack of self-awareness from the client's perspective. And our jobs as photographers and videographers is to educate that lack of awareness and go, hey, by the way, like what you're after, that's totally cool. I just don't do that.
Yeah.
And maybe there is someone else who actually does.
Yeah.
And that's probably a better fit for you as opposed to promising them the world and under-delivering.
Yeah.
Because I have, as a photographer, received... And I actually asked for this, so maybe this is my own thing, but I actually ask for inspiration because I want to know as a photographer what your vision is. And I encourage clients to send me Pinterest boards, mood boards, WhatsApp references, DM me on Instagram because I love that stuff. But what I find very interesting is when your wedding is in a local Sydney venue and you're sending me something from Japan.
Have you had that? Actually, like, have you had like brides send you photos on Insta boards from like some crazy epic weddings?
I've had clients send me this designer outfit dress where, you know, the dupatta or the chunni or, you know, non-South Asian photographers, like the veil equivalent, is this beautiful, grandiose, massive, elegant thing. And they've sent me...
And then they don't even have a veil on
and
there.
they don't even have any of these things. Like, you know what? They get taken aback by how beautiful the image is, but they forget the relevancy of where that actually applies to them. And if you guys are a bride or a groom and you're looking for inspo, that's amazing. I'm not saying don't. All I'm saying is try your very level best to make it as very relevant realistic to what your actual wedding's going to look like. If you're getting married in a venue where you know it's dark, don't send me inspo for things that are bright. Very plain and simple. If you have a particular look and feel for your outfit, try and send me the same look and feel for your outfit. Don't send me things that are completely out of blue, very random for that. And I felt like the same thing would probably happen in video where you'd get clients sending you, I don't know, like a full movie and going like, make this for us. Like, no.
And then they don't even have the budget for it. Like,
Very interesting.
I feel like everything in this podcast always comes down to like self-awareness.
It is self-awareness driven. It is very self-awareness driven because if we're signing in clients and we're not educating them on what we actually do, the fault's not even on them. I actually don't even think the fault's on them. The fault's on us. Because realistically, we know this in and out. We know what a great and realistic experience is versus something that we shouldn't be taking. And it's up to us to actually turn the client away, or it's up to us to go, hey, by the way, like, I hear you and I think that's incredible, but I can't do that. I do something else. And this is what I do. This is what I can provide you. If you like that, let's have a chat. But if you don't, I think you might need to find somebody else.
But I'm legit waiting for the day when a client comes back, because you know how with the recent developments in AI and stuff, right? I'm legit waiting for a day when a bride or whoever comes back and they're like, can you add like a veil in there because like it's AI can do everything, or like can you add this, can you add that, like unrealistic stuff. And I'm talking about like shit that wasn't even there on the wedding day, right? Because you know, like AI is getting quite better.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible what it can do.
Yeah.
I've had experiences with.
I've
used it for sure, and there was
actually explain what you did.
Yeah. So I did a photo shoot in Spain, I believe it was, where a couple were posing, and the girl had a black sari on, and the groom was in his tux, and groom was awesome, bride's awesome. They look beautiful. There wasn't. I just was a bit fussy with how the pleats of the sari was dropping on the floor, and I just wanted it to look a little bit more elegant. I was like, let me give Photoshop Beta a little bit of a try, and just mask that area, and then command.
This is back when it was just kind of introduced.
When it just came out, and I literally typed into the AI box, flare sari pleats beautifully on the floor. I remember using those exact words.
Yeah.
And it produced something that was out of this world that I'm like, I could not have done this in reality.
Yeah.
And it just made the image like a little bit more better. Now, if that completely changed the image, I probably wouldn't have done it. But this was like, it was just a little bit messy, and it just beautifully like laid it out in the same color, in the same sort of design, just made it look a little bit more elegant.
Yeah.
And I think that's an example of where you could use Photoshop. I'm not saying you have to, but it's an example where you could. But with the recent developments of AI,
so AI just got introduced into Lightroom now, which was like this week, I think.
And I think a lot of photographers are going to be jumping on that because Photoshop, for those...
Bro, I'm so glad. Like a lot of the times when okay, look, Photoshop is good at like removing stuff,
but
like
it's so complicated to use.
It's not very good. Like
it's not...
A lot of the time it does like a masking, like weird shit.
Yeah.
That's why AI will like actually judge like the image overall, and it'll use AI to like remove stuff, which is like much better.
And I think from a Lightroom user for the last 10 years nearly, like I'm so comfortable with Lightroom. Photoshop's just a complete different ball game. And I know there's a lot of photographers out there who are just not comfortable with Photoshop, and that's fine because layers and all of this stuff, and it's a full industry just to learn into.
Yeah.
But with the introduction of a Lightroom AI, I think it's going to take a lot of photos to the next level. But now, and I think you may have seen this on Instagram, where Instagram actually recognizes that an image has been AI'd, and it can actually come up with image edited by AI or something like that. I think
also when you upload, there's an option now that you have to select, was this made by AI?
Yeah. And I think this is now coming down the whole ethical conundrum, right? Like, what's real, what's not? Should we be a bit more honest with what we're saying we're doing with AI versus not? Yeah. And a lot of people are sort of in between that like bandwagon because they're not sure about, do we disclose this? Do we not disclose this? And it's a tricky balance because is us editing a photo with a Lightroom preset like unethical? I don't think it is.
Look, we are only like editing like minor things in a photo, bro. Like, this might be a bit off topic, but bro, there's Instagram accounts out there now of girls that are generated by AI. Yep. Everything is generated by AI, right? Everything. The person's not even real, right? Yep. And now these girls are like getting people to pay them. But it's legit like some guy just sitting behind a computer.
What a genius. What a genius.
Yeah. He's literally like made up some random girl using an AI engine. Yeah, and he's just like putting photos of her up. Oh, I'm out on the beach, blah, blah, blah. Proper hustling, right?
Hustler.
And people are actually paying for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what I touched on earlier was interesting because there's a difference between like color grading and like Photoshop like manipulating, which what I think we as photographers do, we color grade a little bit because we have a look and feel, right? You might want to, mute certain colors or enhance certain colors, like make skin tones pop. But that's where I think color grading is a word that I often use a little bit more of. And I think for video it also applies as well, where you would have your look and feel as a preset, as a Lightroom preset. And I do, you do, everyone does. And you would apply that to your images. But that isn't heavy manipulating. That is just applying the look and feel that you have to have this consistency in your gallery. And that's what wedding photographers do. Yeah. That's genuinely what wedding photographers do. But it's worth noting out that like each photographer has their own look and feel. So make sure you recognize what that is before you book someone. You know what I mean?
Can't wait the next time our auntie comes up to you at a wedding and tells you, Kartik, make me look skinnier, beta.
No. I'm just going to death stare and be like, no. And just
you can just tell them, I am AI, touch my feet. Touch my feet. I'll make you look skinny if you touch my feet.
Auntie, you don't need to resort to light and easy. I am loyal. I am your light and easy.
Wow.
Or an uncle. Imagine an uncle goes, I Photoshop hair onto me.
It usually ends up being aunties.
Yeah,
though.
why?
Like, I never get an uncle coming in being like, oh, put hair on my head or whatever.
Yeah,
or
make me
something
look
like,
good.
or
No,
make me
I
look
don't-
skinny.
I don't know
It's always
why.
aunties. I don't
Yeah,
know.
interesting.
Interesting.
Interesting. If you guys have enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, email us at thecameramanShow@gmail.com. If you have an editing related story, DM us, send us your stories as well. We often do a bit of a live react. We read them out here and make smaller videos on YouTube. We will see you guys in the very next episode.
Awesome. Peace.
Peace.